everyone. Sorry for the out of the blue hiatus. College has been kicking my ass and I got another job and I am really struggling. However, I did get a really weird influx of subscribers, which is weird because, I don't know, I think I'm like shadow banned or something. No one ever sees my channel. So I did want to put out another video, and unfortunately I'm not done with any scripts at the moment. I did want to do a deep dive on Ukraine as well as on hypersexuality, but those won't be out for a little while. So today we're just going to do a quick couple reactions to some TikToks, which I sourced through Tumblr because I refuse to download the TikTok app myself. So let's go ahead and get to it.
Guys, are you seeing this? They just wiped Lazy Susan's memory.
They should have wiped off
a new law going into effect immediately. Every time an ugly woman posts something negative about trans people, we tax them $4,000.
So first off, the audacity for this man to call that woman ugly. No, she is gorgeous, she's a goddess, and you are a little troll thing that crawled out from underneath the shit pile. Moving on, she's not wrong. No one wants to talk about this because I guess it's just too much to address. But if you're withholding information that you know would make your partner not want to have sex with you, that is rape by deception. A similar thing as if you took the condom off, or you lied and said you're on birth control and you weren't, or you have some kind of STD and didn't tell your partner. That is rape by deception because they didn't have all the facts. And the thing is, you know that they would not sleep with you if they knew the truth. You know that. You're hiding something. And come on. You can't really tell me that the whole concept of lying to someone who you're having sex with seems like a good thing to you because it's somehow protecting trans people.
Mom, I've been meaning to tell you this like a week ago, but I keep forgetting.
So by her tone of voice and the tears and everything and the way she brings this up, my first thought is, oh, she's coming out to her mom.
I'm non-binary.
And boom, there it is. I like to be called they, them pronouns. I hope you don't kick me out of the house. Baby, this means nothing to anyone who's an actual adult. This means literally nothing, okay? And I'm sorry because the way people talk about pressure and homophobia and transphobia and all this stuff, it really, really grates on me because I remember coming out to my parents when I was 12, and I distinctly remember every single thing about that dinner. I sat down and my mom said I had to tell my dad because if not she'd tell him, and I guess she thought it would turn differently, but it didn't. And I said, Dad, I think I'm gay. And he said, if your brother turns out gay too, I'm gonna have to pregnate a different woman because your mother must be defective. I asked him, did you think I'm gonna go to hell? And he said yes. And I remember every single thing they did to try to change me into someone who could like men. And so seeing this little girl who truly believes that her mom is going to kick her out or be upset with her because she uses some pronouns. What? These things are not at all equal. Not at all.
You're what?
Non-binary.
Why are you coming to me? Are you recording me or something? Why are you telling me
I'm being
this?
serious.
Okay, that's fine. I feel like you make such a big deal out of these things. I love you no matter what you are, okay? It means nothing to me. I'm happy as long as you're happy, okay?
Oh gosh, all the little things. Are you recording me? Is this a TikTok? Of course I love you. You're making a big deal out of nothing. All these things are things I wish my parents had said. Or at least most of them. I wish they had just been yeah, I love you too. No big issue. She was hoping for a fight. She was hoping for something to go wrong. Or she was at least expecting it. And it's just her mom is based. She's literally, this is nothing. This means nothing. Yes, this does mean nothing. This is a little phase that she's going to laugh about in about 5 years. Maybe less. Because there is a turning tide of detransitioners and people realizing they messed up themselves for nothing. But we'll get to that another day.
I thought non-binary was
I go by they, them.
what?
I use the pronouns they, them.
Why are you crying? Allie, I feel like you've idolized all of this stuff, and that's what frustrates me. You think it's cool. That's why I get upset. Because I don't.
Okay, and like this next one is about like that little trend where you dress up like your type, and so like you basically cross dress if you're opposite sex attracted. That's what they're doing here. No music because copyright.
So, I don't know if this is gonna be a hot take, but
Oh, don't worry. With that haircut and that fake anxiety, no, it's never gonna be.
Some of the people doing this trend are gonna transition.
I don't know if it's just me, but I sincerely hate the facial expressions that these people make. Like, they overact for every little thing, that little smug little look. They're gonna transition one day. Ugh.
Maybe not soon, maybe not this year, maybe not next year. But there are some dudes in those videos who are chicks, and there are some chicks in those videos that are dudes. And that's okay. And I think this is a great opportunity for them to explore that. But yeah, just think about that. And if you are cis or apparently cis and you find yourself jumping at the opportunity to cross-dress when it is presented to you, unpack it, you know? Sit with that feeling for a second. It might be nothing. It might just be fun, but it also might be something, and you should explore that something.
So number one, this was a joke. Like on Halloween, how you dress up as characters doesn't mean that because I'm wearing a Shrek costume, I identify as Shrek, or that I secretly have some Freudian attraction to Shrek. It just means that I dressed up in a costume. Number two, people like her love to play this game of if you are gender non-conforming in any way, shape, or form, if you don't fulfill the stereotype of your gender, then you aren't your gender. And the thing is, this is such a stupid suggestion because not only are we living in a world that is hypersexualized, that makes the expectations placed on a woman to be unattainable and uncomfortable, but the minute that you gender non-conform, which is typically associated with homosexuality, I'm not saying there aren't straight women and straight men who dress and act in a different way, but it is typically associated with homosexuality. They immediately try to get you to say that you're trans. They immediately say, you're a girl and you don't want to wear a dress that goes spinny? Well, then you must be a guy. Oh, like I went through this whole trend in high school too, where I was like, oh, I like girls, and sometimes I like wearing button-down shirts. Must mean I'm a dude. Maybe I can transition into one, even though I like wearing dresses some days. Mustn't be gender fluid then. It's such a stupid-ass rhetoric, and it genuinely hurts people because I'm sorry. Like, this doesn't mean anything. This was a joke. You don't know how to take a joke anymore.
Something else I wanted to add about women's spaces is that trans people are already really good at gatekeeping themselves from women's spaces.
Evidently, it's not working because somehow we're still getting trans women in female prisons, child rapists working in the institutions that are supposed to support women and LGBT people in the community. But, you know, what do I know? You guys are gatekeeping yourselves, right?
Like, take bathrooms, for instance. Everyone's so afraid of trans women in bathrooms, right? But the vast majority of trans women won't even step foot into a women's restroom until several months, if not years, into their transitions.
And yet they do inevitably get in there, and then somewhere from the other, I guess, there materializes this wealth of trans women doing degrading and sexual things in women's bathrooms. But we have nothing to fear, right? Because you guys are gatekeeping, and you don't let any predators in, right?
Specifically because they don't want to scare any cis women.
Man, I have so many screenshots of trans women who take delight in scaring cis women and invading in our spaces, but go off, I guess.
And when we are finally ready to enter a women's restroom, most of us just want to get in and get out without looking or doing anything to upset anyone. So this idea of this disruptive, masculine trans woman coming into the restroom is just false.
And you see, he paints this picture of like this demure, feminine, polite trans woman. And the thing is, no one is saying that every single trans person out there is some sort of predator. I do not wish trans people ill harm or anything. What we are saying is that accepting this and letting this boundary be broken allows people who do want to do harm to get into these spaces. And as it turns out, I'm sorry, if someone doesn't feel comfortable with you encroaching in a space, then you shouldn't go there. And it's very telling that trans men aren't trying to do the same push into men's bathrooms. Maybe it's because no one actually does notice that, because they just go in and they pee versus lingering around or getting some kind of sexual thrill out of it. But again, what do I know?
The perception of trans women as being men invading women's spaces has caused us to self-police to an insane degree.
Yeah, but you're not self-policing hard enough.
Even in our love lives, if you're a trans woman who dates women, it's insanely hard to make the first move because you don't want to be seen as creepy or predatory. As an example of how fucked up we are in the head, one of my trans lesbian friends went to a wedding of another trans lesbian last weekend. And do you know what she said to me when she got back from this wedding? She said, and I quote, "I didn't know we could do that. I didn't know that we could find love and be happy."
Okay, so statistically, transitioning does not make trans people any happier. People who are married and start to transition, typically the spouse stays with them for a year or two, and then they end up divorced because they did not really expect this going into it, and there is quite a big personality change and just social change regarding that. And on top of all of that, there are people who would happily date trans women. The issue is that a lot of them go after people who don't want to date them. Like, you can go online, and Blair White made a whole video about these non-binary men who wanted straight men to be attracted to them. And it's like, yeah, of course you're not having any luck. They're straight men who are interested in women, and you are biologically a man. You're a man in purple lipstick, purple hair, but you're still a man. And a lot of trans women who go after lesbians, also, the difference, I guess, is the pressure. There's a lot more social pressure on women to just give in, just, especially in LGBT spaces. But my point still stands. You can be happy, you can have a great life, but you need to be upfront about who you are and what you're looking for, and need to be aware of the boundaries of the people around you.
Not to get into preference discourse, but I'm always so stunned that, cis people, white people...
Have you noticed how often they lump together cis and white together, like it's some defense against being misogynistic?
Just believe that somehow who we're attracted to is innately determined.
So on one hand, yes, sexuality is rigid. Like, you are either bi or straight or gay, and maybe you don't realize these things for a while, but those don't change, and they are factors that are affected by your environment. We don't know if there's a gay gene. We've not found any way to determine if someone's going to be gay or not just by, looking at their DNA. However, sexuality is innate, and so is what you look at in a partner. And I really, really hate the preferences thing, because you can go back to the 1970s and find feminists and activists going against this idea that it's a preference and not something that we don't have control over. Like, the "born this way" phrase that was so popular 5 years ago is now transphobic suddenly, when this is something that we've been discussing since 1975. Here's an excerpt by the Gay Activist Alliance. "What's your preference?" and scratched out on top is orientation. "It diverts attention from the real source of homosexual oppression, the fact that we engage in several acts that are forbidden and criminal in our society. Neither homosexuality per se nor homosexual lifestyles are illegal in any state in the United States. It is certain kinds of acts that are illegal, usually lumped together under sodomy statutes that label same-sex love a crime against nature. It is of questionable validity from a scientific point of view. By implying that people engage in homosexual or heterosexual acts by choice or preference, it goes against all scientific evidence showing that same-sex love is not the product so much of individual choice as it is an inherent and natural capacity of the human animal. Conversely, it is also incorrect to imply, as this phrase does, that exclusive heterosexuals that are incapable of acts of love for persons of the same sex have chosen their condition out of personal choice or preference."
There's no gene for who you're attracted to. The only example I could think of is maybe sexuality, but you have to realize that sexuality and gender are determined by both biological and environmental factors. Science has proved that many a times. So no matter what, the environment affects your beauty standards, okay?
Your gender is directly related to your sex. You are raised in society based off of your sex. They are interchangeable. The phrase gender was literally just coined to avoid having to say the word sex because it was a dirty word. That's literally all it means. It's literally all it means, dude.
Who did you see on TV growing up? Who were the models that were popular during your childhood? Like, those all influence your attractions.
And yes, media does affect our attractions, our self-image, how we view ourselves and what we want in life. Very funny how suddenly in the past 5 or 6 years, certain beauty standards and sexual expectations have become basically mainstream, and now young women are aiming for a hypersexualized version of themselves. You know, maybe that's connected.
So if you say you just have a preference for white people, you have a preference for cis people and not trans people, like, that's okay, that's not a preference. You're just discriminating against those people.
See, the word discrimination implies that this is something that they are entitled to. You are not entitled to date anyone. And I don't know why you want to force yourself into groups that don't want to date you. Like, beyond anything, I don't want a white person to date me out of obligation because they think that it's their duty as an oppressor race or something. That sounds horrible for both of us. I don't want to be someone's obligation, and I don't see why you'd want to be someone else's obligation of, like, social duty to date you. And I don't like how you lump together white people and cis people because, first off, sexuality is not fluid. I love how they keep saying that. It's not fluid. You have a sexuality, and that is based off of a person's sex. And so, hypothetically, I could be attracted to a trans man because that is biologically a woman. And hypothetically, a gay man could be attracted to a trans woman because that is biologically a man. But I don't have a choice on attraction, and you can't force yourself to feel attraction for anyone either. So if you do happen to be white and you don't feel attraction for people of other races, I don't think that's a problem. Most people end up dating or marrying within their race. A lot of people date and marry outside of their race. It's not something you should be forcing out of obligation, and it's not something that you can force even if you want to. Once again, sex is what is observed at birth, not assigned. That refers specifically to intersex people, which majority of people are not, and so we really should stop co-opting language that wasn't made for us. And gender just refers to how you were treated based off of your sex, which, since all this gender nonsense didn't happen in the last 5 or so years, you were treated as the sex that you are. But, I mean, go off. You really think that you're rapping here. Reflecting cultural norms based on how they gonna deal with society. All you can add to the argument, only 2 genders, just look at the science. Yeah, because there's only 2 sexes, which if you want to do is address how cultural gender roles have contained people within specific cultural norms, that is a whole different conversation. Science has already proven and continues to prove that there's only 2 sexes. Actually, no, there haven't, because there's negligible differences in the brains of men and women. The few differences they have found tend to be that women have a more spread out language center, which is most likely attributed to how we were raised differently. For example, a lot of children's toys for girls have conversations. They're like asking you to respond to things. For example, I babysit quite often. One of the girls I watch has a teapot that'll say, "Let's pour some tea, count it out with me," versus boy toys that just go boom, crash, roar, and don't really encourage conversation. But regarding all of that, the study that he's talking about has been disproven. There is no proof showing that trans people are special in any way besides them falling into the DSM, which many of them have already admitted to lying to be accepted in. But I digress, because here, dear viewers, is where we part. Thank you so much for coming along for the ride. I know this is a pretty long video, and it's a lazy one, but unfortunately, I just have not had the time to do any intensive ones lately. I'm hoping to get back on a more regular schedule after my spring break, when I should hopefully have the time to do research, write up, and record. But until then, please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, anything you want me to react to, anything you want me to read. Go ahead and put it down in the comments. I love talking, as you can tell, and I love interacting with you guys. So, yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.